This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. Good morning, I'm John Trout. It's Monday, April 15th, 2024, Tax Day. Here's what's coming up on America in the Morning.
The hush money trial begins in New York City.
What we're talking about here is a show trial.
I'm Clayton Neville.
The Biden administration seeking to tamp down on rising tensions in the Middle East after Iran's drone and missile strike against Israel. I'm John Stolnis in Washington.
A shooting in a Chicago neighborhood killed a little girl and left nearly a dozen others injured. I'm Jackie Quinn.
Arrests made after 2 Kansas women are found dead in Oklahoma. Pamela Furr reports.
On Wall Street, a new week after an ugly sell-off for stocks last Friday. Lots of housing data coming this week. I'm Jessica Ettinger.
New gun laws working their way through the Colorado legislature.
Experts say tax season is prime time for scammers. I'm Rita Foley.
All ahead on America in the Morning. Former President Donald Trump will be in a Manhattan court as his hush money case begins today. Correspondent Clayton Neville has a preview.
The case involves hush money payments that former President Trump allegedly made to porn star Stormy Daniels, and the trial will focus heavily on record keeping. It plays out this week in a New York City courtroom with jury selection starting today, and there's certainly a lot of attention on the trial as it begins. But as far as what that means for Trump's presidential campaign or his political future,
This trial is not going to have major political ramifications that a lot of people, I think it may have. When it comes to these issues, people see it more as reality TV at this point.
Republican New Hampshire Governor Chris Sununu told ABC's This Week he doesn't expect the trial to have much of an impact.
Whether it's a conviction or what that conviction looks like, a lot of folks, they conflate all 4 of these different trials that he's in.
The alleged sex scandal cover-up is said to have happened days before the 2016 presidential election. Prosecutors accusing Trump of falsifying business records to hide the reimbursement of so-called hush money payments. Trump denies the accusations involving Stormy Daniels. He's pleaded not guilty in the case.
What we're talking about here is a show trial. It's a 6-week-long media extravaganza in the media capital of the world, where the only realistic consequence, even if President Trump were convicted, is frankly a talking point for the Biden campaign.
Trump lawyer Will Sharp was on Fox News Sunday and said jury selection, which begins today, is expected to be difficult.
I have a lot of faith in our team up there that they're going to be able to get the best possible jury, but I think it's really important to note that the fact that this case is being brought at the height of election season makes the process of picking a jury even more difficult, makes the possibility of having a biased jury even more likely, and that's a real problem.
Probation and prison time potentially on the line for the former president, who of course is also the Republican frontrunner in the race for the presidency. It's one of 4 high-profile cases against him as he runs for president and expected to be the only trial before the election. Former Trump allies expected to testify in the trial that could last for a few weeks or longer. Some of those names, Hope Hicks, Michael Cohen, and others. I'm Clayton Neville.
Over the weekend, Iran followed through with their threats to attack Israel after Israelis killed 2 senior Iranian leaders in a missile strike in Syria last week, launching hundreds of missiles and drones from Iran into Israel. John Stolnis has the latest on reaction from the Biden administration and what could come next.
Air raid sirens blaring over the streets of Jerusalem as Iran's rockets and drones streaked across the night sky. Israeli and U.S. officials estimate 99% were intercepted and destroyed by the Israeli Iron Dome shield, as well as by U.S. military assets and allies Jordan and the U.K., among others. IDF spokesman Rear Admiral Daniel Hagari.
Iran's unprecedented attack was met with an unprecedented defense. This was the first time that such a coalition worked together against the threat of Iran and its proxies in the Middle East.
In a call with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, President Biden reportedly encouraged him to, quote, take the win, and said the U.S. would not support any Israeli counterattack against Iran, advice that has some Republicans up in arms. As the attacks were happening, former President Donald Trump speaking at a rally in Pennsylvania, telling supporters,
God bless the people of Israel. They're under attack right now. That's because we show great weakness. It would not happen, the weakness that we've shown, and unbelievable, and it would not have happened if we were in office. You know that. They know that. Everybody knows that.
Republicans like Marco Rubio, vice chair of the Senate Intelligence Committee, tell CNN State of the Union Israel, not the U.S., will decide what to do next.
I'm not going to tell Israel what to do because I'm not the one that was attacked by 300 rockets and missiles and drones.
National Security Council spokesman John Kirby on NBC's Meet the Press reiterates the president's desire not to escalate tensions in the Middle East.
The president's been very clear. We don't seek a war with Iran. We're not looking for escalation here.
Israeli President Isaac Herzog on Sky News reiterates Israel does not want all-out war in the Middle East.
Because we are restrained and because we know the repercussions and because we have deliberations with our partners, we are considering all options, and I'm quite confident that we will take the necessary steps that are necessary to protect and defend our people. We are not war seekers.
Meanwhile, House Majority Leader Steve Scalise says Republicans are teeing up a week of bills aimed at supporting Israel and are drafting a resolution condemning the unprovoked attacks by Iran. House Speaker Mike Johnson is negotiating with the White House on an Israel aid package he hopes will hit the floor this week. John Stolnis, Washington.
Among the stories we're covering next on America in the Morning, mass shooting in Chicago and the mystery surrounding the disappearance of two Kansas women. We'll have an update back after these messages. Welcome back. You're with America in the Morning. AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy is tracking the next potential severe weather storm system.
A powerful storm emerging from the Rockies will enter the Central Plains with explosive effect later this afternoon into tonight with the development of strong to severe thunderstorms. These will get started in two areas, the first of which will be in West Texas and western Oklahoma, and the other area will be from Nebraska into South Dakota. These will be isolated to start, but increase in area and intensity tonight. Folks from Texas to South Dakota and areas in between can anticipate heavier rain, gusty winds, and hail, as well as a tornado with some of these storms. Farther west, as is typical for spring, this storm will also produce some snow over the Colorado Rockies, and some places will see a few slushy inches through the day. Some showers will also extend westward into parts of Idaho, western Wyoming, and Utah as well. The rest of the West will be fairly quiet, with just a few showers developing across northern Washington as a cold front moves through the region. Otherwise, most places will have a mixture of clouds and sun, with highs in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, which is near or even below the historical average. Farther east, a cold front moving south will produce several severe thunderstorms from Ohio into Pennsylvania with gusty winds and hail. This boundary will keep shifting southward. A few thunderstorms will develop this afternoon from Kentucky into Virginia, some of which will continue to produce gusty winds. This will continue into North Carolina this evening, along with strong winds still being possible. That's the weather across America. It'll be a cool day in Elko, Nevada, with clouds and occasional sun and a high of 58. Richmond, Virginia will have sun mixing with clouds and a gusty afternoon thunderstorm and a high of 77. That's the nation's weather. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy.
Remember, you can follow us wherever you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, Amazon, and YouTube. Just search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. I'm John Trout. Another weekend of gunfire in the Windy City has left a child dead when a mass shooting happened on a residential Chicago street. Correspondent Jackie Quinn reports.
Police say 11 people were shot outside a home where a family gathering was taking place on Chicago's South Side.
Officers responded to a shot spotter alert in the 2000 West block of 52nd Street here, just west of Damon. Shot spotter alerted to 18 rounds. Upon arriving here, they discovered multiple people shot in the block.
An 8-year-old girl was struck in the head and she died. An 8-year-old boy and a 1-year-old baby were also among the injured. Police on the scene were applying tourniquets and using patches to seal people's chest wounds. Police officials say they think the shooting was likely gang-related and that the violence is unacceptable. Witnesses described a black car pulling up to the scene and shots being fired. I'm Jackie Quinn.
4 people have been arrested in Oklahoma in connection to the disappearance of 2 Kansas women whose bodies have been found after they were missing for weeks. The latest from correspondent Pamela Furr.
Veronica Butler and her friend Jillian Kelly left their small hometown in Kansas on March 30th to pick up Butler's children in Oklahoma. It was a short drive, only the two never made it. Their car was found abandoned, and according to police, evidence of foul play was discovered. The Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigations say they have 4 people in custody. They are Tad Cullum, Tiffany Adams, who is the grandmother of Veronica Butler's children, Cole Twombly, and Cora Twombly. We do know all 4 were booked into a Texas County, Oklahoma jail on 2 counts of first-degree murder, 2 counts of kidnapping, and 1 count of conspiracy to commit murder in the first degree. We're also told Veronica Butler had been involved in an ugly custody battle with the father of the children that grew heated not long before the 2 ladies disappeared. Butler had filed for more visitation rights and was hoping to get full custody of her kids. The FBI is now also involved in the investigation. I'm Pamela Furr.
When we return on America in the Morning, what investors can expect today at the opening bell after Friday's sell-off. Back after these messages. Welcome back. This is America in the Morning. The Business Report is sponsored by Fisher Investments. Fisher Investments has a team of specialists in investing, financial planning, estate planning, and more. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com. Here's CNBC's Jessica Ettinger.
Wall Street opens this morning after a truly ugly sell-off for stocks on Friday. The Dow down 475 points.
The market's straight up for 5 months. We've gotten a pretty welcome shakeup. We're less than 3% from the highs. And what you have to do is have a fresh eyes on the big secular themes, because every time we think this market is getting a macro gut check, somebody says AI and three mega caps go flying, and all of a sudden we think it's back to happy days again.
CNBC's Mike Santoli. If you have a retirement account and an S&P 500 index fund in there, you're still up 7% year to date. Oil prices have been bouncing. U.S. crude on Friday broke above $87 a barrel before pulling back to about $85. Gold with yet another fresh intraday record high Friday, hitting more than $2,418 an ounce. If you went home shopping over the weekend and it felt like turkey and stuffing was on the menu, well, that might be because mortgage rates for a 30-year fixed home loan were back up to where they were last Thanksgiving, 7.3%. Earnings season is on. Better than expected results came from Citigroup, Wells Fargo, and JP Morgan Chase. BlackRock also with better than expected results. The CEO said there's still no better place to put money to work than stocks.
It's not about the moment. Yes, there's uncertainty, but over the long run, do you believe in American-style capitalism? Do you believe in the markets? And over the long run, I do believe our market's going to continue to be driving excess returns above what you could earn in a money market fund.
Right. BlackRock CEO Larry Fink on CNBC. Ford going to resume F-150 Lightning truck shipments. It's dropping the price on the mid-level Flash trim down $5,000, although that's still a $68,000 truck.
Well, experts certainly disagree on where this economy is going, Jessica.
Yeah, well, it's this. Americans say they're so angry about inflation, which has slowed, but they're still spending like it doesn't matter. Economists say if consumers are angry about high prices, then don't pay them, and they'll come down. The new CNBC NRF retail monitor for last month showed consumer spending still strong.
Spending has now bounced back into positive territory for 2 months in a row now after that January decline. People thought maybe that January decline was the beginning of this long-awaited consumer slowdown. Well, we're still waiting for that, as you might imagine.
CNBC senior economics reporter Steve Leisman. On today's watch list, everybody knows it's tax deadline day. If you haven't filed, you can file for an extension. Earnings are coming today from Goldman Sachs and M&T Bank. We get March retail sales numbers from the government today and a read on how the home builders are feeling about their business.
Thank you, CNBC's Jessica Ettinger. Filing a tax return today? Don't fall for one of these scams. We'll have that when America in the Morning continues after these messages. Welcome back. This is America in the Morning. Colorado's Democrat-controlled House has passed a bill that would ban the sale and transfer of semi-automatic firearms. The bill's now on its way to the Colorado State Senate. Governor Jared Polis, also a Democrat, has shown wariness over such a ban, and it's unclear if he's going to sign it into law. If it does pass, Colorado would join 10 other states with similar semi-automatic gun prohibitions. Well, today is tax day, the deadline for filing our returns. Correspondent Rita Foley is on the hunt for tax scams and how you can avoid them.
Experts say tax season is prime time for scammers. And here's one way you may be able to tell if a scammer has stolen your identity. You try to file your tax return and the IRS says, "Hey, wait a minute, you've already filed." That usually means somebody else filed in your name to try to get a refund. There are ways you can protect yourself from scammers during tax season, including setting up an identity protection pin with the IRS. And don't answer phone calls from numbers you don't recognize. You can be scammed via phone, text, email, and social media. Experts say the IRS will not use any of these methods to contact you. If they need to reach you, they will usually do it through the regular mail, the U.S. Postal Service. I'm Rita Foley.
America in the Morning for Monday, April 15th, 2024 is produced by Jeff McKay, senior producer Kevin Delaney. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One. This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. I'm John Trout. Coming up this half hour.
The White House says it's seeking a coordinated diplomatic response to Iran's strikes into Israel. I'm Jackie Quinn.
An 1864 abortion ban in Arizona is still stirring up reaction across the United States. I'm Clayton Neville.
A bird flu outbreak in U.S. dairy cows has spread to more than 24 herds in 8 states. I'm Julie Walker.
A federal judge in Delaware has refused to throw out a federal gun case against Hunter Biden. I'm Norman Hall.
Roku accounts for nearly 500,000 accounts being hacked. I'm tech correspondent Chuck Palm.
The legendary piano man tickled the ivories at his 100th concert at Madison Square Garden. I'm Kevin Carr.
Back after these messages. You're with America in the Morning. Thanks for listening. AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy joins us with the National Weather Outlook for today.
A cold front moving southward in the northeast into the middle Atlantic produced a few severe thunderstorms from Ohio into Pennsylvania with gusty winds and hail. This front will keep shifting southward, and from it, a few thunderstorms will develop this afternoon from Kentucky into Virginia, some of which will continue to produce gusty winds. This will continue into North Carolina this evening with strong winds still possible. Farther north in northern New York and New England, a weaker cold front will produce a few showers and clouds. But in the southeast, it'll be a pleasant day. We'll have plenty of sunshine with a warm afternoon. Highs will be mostly in the 80s, but a few places will reach up to 90. Meanwhile, a strong storm emerging from the Rockies will enter the Central Plains with increasing concern later this afternoon into tonight. This will cause the development of strong to severe thunderstorms. It'll get started in 2 areas at first, from West Texas and western Oklahoma, as well as Nebraska into South Dakota. And then these will be isolated to start, but then increasing in intensity and area tonight. Folks from Texas and South Dakota and areas in between can expect heavier rain, gusty winds, hail, and even a tornado with some of these storms. Farther west, this storm will also produce some snow over the Colorado Rockies. Some places will see a few slushy inches through the day. Some showers will also extend westward into parts of Idaho, western Wyoming, and Utah as well. The rest of the West will be fairly quiet. We'll have a few showers developing over northern Washington as a cold front moves through the region. Otherwise, most places will have a mixture of clouds and sunshine with highs in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy.
Remember, you can follow us wherever you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, Amazon, and YouTube. Just search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. I'm John Trout. Following the unprecedented attack by Iran against Israel, there was condemnation by President Biden and European leaders. As correspondent Jackie Quinn reports, the defense of Israel during the drone and missile attack launched from the Islamic Republic was met with complete resistance, not only by the Israeli Defense Forces, but also by the militaries of the U.S., France, the UK, and Jordan.
If this administration fails to step up to the plate and understand that we have an escalating conflict and make it clear to Iran that there are red lines and that the United States will defend Israel and will not allow Iran to become a weapon state, that we will be in a broader conflict and we will have less options.
President Biden's reaching out to other G7 leaders for discussions and then a unified response to what he calls Iran's brazen attack, the first time Tehran's forces directly struck Israel.
The president's been clear. We don't want to see this escalate. We're not looking for a wider war with Iran. I think the coming hours and days will tell us a lot.
His National Security Council spokesman John Kirby on NBC's Meet the Press says most of the weapons were blocked.
Just an incredible military achievement by Israel and, quite frankly, the United States and other partners that helped Israel defend itself against more than 300 drones and missiles.
Kirby says the U.S. will continue to support Israel and its next move.
Whether and how the Israelis will respond, that's going to be up to them. We understand that and respect that. But the president's been very clear. We don't seek a war with Iran. We're not looking for escalation here. We will continue to help Israel defend itself.
Their failure to box in Iran and let them understand that there will be consequences make it more dangerous every day.
Republican Congressman Mike Turner on NBC says the White House needs to get tough with Iran.
This administration has continued to fail to recognize that Iran is an adversary. It's an adversary to Israel. It is coordinating Hezbollah, Hamas, the Houthis in Yemen, and attacks on commercial waterways. The administration continues to look the other way and fail to recognize that this is escalating. I think they've emboldened Iran.
Well,
this administration's failing to say there is a red line.
I'm Jackie Quinn.
House Speaker Mike Johnson announces he'll try to advance wartime aid in a national security package that would include both Ukraine and Israel this week. Johnson is already under immense pressure from some within his own party over his support for a Senate and Biden administration plan for urgent aid for Kyiv. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer at a news conference said that President Joe Biden held a phone call with top Republicans and Democrats in the House and Senate yesterday, including Johnson, and the consensus among the leaders of both parties was that they had to help both Israel and Ukraine with the hope something can be passed this week. Johnson has faced public pressure from Georgia Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, who's called for Johnson's removal as Speaker over the issue of Ukraine aid and siding with Biden. House Majority Leader Steve Scalise said over the weekend he'll work to change the schedule to push for legislation supporting Israel, which is expected to get strong bipartisan support. America in the Morning continues. Politicians react to the Arizona Supreme Court's decision to allow an 1864 near-total ban on abortion to take hold in the Grand Canyon state. Correspondent Clayton Neville has the response from state and federal leaders, including an Arizona Democratic congressman, a GOP candidate for the Senate, and others.
Ruben Gallegos says that the damage has been done and that the best path forward is putting the issue on the ballot and restoring Roe v. Wade. Until that happens, he believes the Republican-led state legislature in Arizona has the power on abortion, which technically, by law, they do. Former President Donald Trump called on Arizona lawmakers over the weekend to act. In a social media post, he urged state leaders to use heart and common sense and said the state's high court went too far. Arizona Democratic Senator Mark Kelly spoke with CBS's Face the Nation. He took issue with that.
Donald Trump owns this. He said just yesterday that he broke Roe v. Wade. And because he did that, this enabled our court to bring back this draconian 1864 law to take away this right, send doctors to jail.
Others catching grief for seemingly flip-flopping on the issue of abortion. Senate candidate Carrie Lake in 2022.
We have a great law on the books right now. If that happens, we will be a state where we will not be taking the lives of our unborn anymore.
And then a recent video post after the state Supreme Court in Arizona gave the go-ahead for the 1864 abortion ban.
This total ban on abortion that the Arizona Supreme Court just ruled on is out of line with where the people of this state are. The issue is less about banning abortion and more about saving babies. I agree with President Trump. This is such a personal and private issue.
The Arizona State House meets later this week when the issue is expected to come up again. Republicans in the House, though, not expected to get in the way of the ban. Meanwhile, reproductive rights groups in Arizona are working to put a referendum on the state's ballot in November to essentially enshrine abortion rights in the state's constitution. I'm Clayton Neville.
Australian authorities single out a police officer and bystanders for the heroic measures they took to confront a man who went on a stabbing spree in a mall in Sydney. Correspondent Karen Shamas reports.
An Australian police officer and several bystanders have been hailed for their acts of bravery during a stabbing attack in a Sydney mall which has left several people dead. Screams of terror could be heard in a video taken by witness Rowan Anderson. His video showed people running and shrieking in panic in a Bondi Beach mall as a man with a bloodied knife aimlessly chased after random passers-by. A few seconds after the video was taken, the suspect, Joel Cauchi, was shot and killed by emergency responder Inspector Amy Scott. Scott was lauded as a hero by many, including Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese.
The wonderful inspector who ran into danger by herself and removed the threat that was there to others.
The Premier also recognised the bravery of bystanders who put themselves in harm's way to help others, some of whom confronted the attacker. I'm Karen Shamas.
Among the stories we're covering next, truck driver now behind bars after intentional crash. Plus, Hunter Biden's appeal denied. That and more when America in the Morning continues after these messages. This is America in the Morning. I'm John Trout. On the rise, cases of bird flu. Correspondent Julie Walker reports the virus is spreading to other farm animals, raising questions about food safety.
A bird flu outbreak in U.S. dairy cows has spread to more than 24 herds in 8 states, coming weeks after the nation's largest egg producer found bird flu in chickens. Health officials stress risk to the public is low and U.S. food supply remains safe and stable. Food microbiologist and virologist Leanne Jacobs.
People shouldn't be concerned about the food supply is because this is not a virus that is transmitted by foodborne routes. In other words, you shouldn't be able to get sick by eating food that contains this virus.
She says commercial milk remains safe because pasteurization kills bacteria and viruses. But there's limited information about possible transmission of bird flu in pasteurized milk or cheese products. I'm Julie Walker.
President Biden's son had an appeal of his weapons case denied. Correspondent Norman Hall reports.
A federal judge in Delaware has refused to throw out a federal gun case against Hunter Biden, rejecting the president's son's claim that he's being prosecuted for political purposes as well as other arguments. District Judge Mariellen Norieka's ruling increases the prospect that Biden could face trial in the case as early as June in the midst of his father's re-election campaign. Norieka denied several defense requests to dismiss the case, charging Biden with lying about his drug use in October 2018 on a form to buy a gun that he kept for about 11 days. I'm Norman Hall.
Denied a driver's license. And then behind the wheel, he does the unthinkable. More details are being learned about a deadly crash and a subsequent arrest in Texas. An update from correspondent Ed Donahue.
Police say the 18-wheeler was stolen and was driven through the front of the Texas Department of Public Safety office that issues driver's licenses in Brenham, Texas. There was a gaping hole. The driver has been identified as Clenard Parker.
Parker did come to the DPS Brenham office where he was denied his commercial driver license.
Sergeant Justin Ruiz says Parker is in custody. Brenham Mayor Atwood Kanjora says the driver wanted to crash into the building again, but was detained.
Our fire chief mentioned that if he had veered a little bit to the left the second time, there would have been a collapse of that building, which would have resulted in a lot more injuries and possible death.
The semi-trailer was hauling materials on a flatbed. I'm Ed Donahue.
A struggling NHL franchise could be heading from the desert to the nearby mountains. Correspondent Gethin Coolball has that story.
Arizona Coyotes players have been informed the NHL club is expected to relocate to Salt Lake City. A person with knowledge of the meeting tells the Associated Press. Coyotes general manager Bill Armstrong flew to Edmonton, Alberta, to tell players about the team's potential move to Utah before the Coyotes game against the Oilers, the person said on condition of anonymity. The league has been working on separate schedules for next season based on the team playing in Utah or Arizona. Potential new owner Ryan Smith solicited names for a Salt Lake City-based team earlier this week. I'm Gethin Coolbaugh.
Streaming service Roku has identified over 500,000 accounts hacked after announcing a breach just earlier this year. Here's Chuck Palm with that in today's Tech Report.
TV streaming service Roku said on Friday it has identified a second cyber attack that impacted about 576,000 additional accounts, while it's still investigating a smaller breach from earlier this year. Roku, which boasts more than 80 million active accounts, said the hackers did not gain access to sensitive information such as full credit card numbers or other payment details. They also stated less than 400 cases where information was used to make unauthorized purchases and said they would refund or reverse charges on any unauthorized purchases made. Roku has blamed some of the unauthorized access on credential stuffing, where users have the same password and login credentials on different sites. Meanwhile, the company has enabled two-factor authentication for all accounts. Bitcoin tumbles nearly 8% to 61,000 and Ethereum slightly up to 3,066. For more tech news, visit allthetoptech.tech. I'm Chuck Paul.
America in the Morning continues. There's been a new green jacket awarded in golf. With Monday Sports, here's Robert Workman.
World number one Scotty Scheffler took control on the back nine Sunday to win the 88th Masters at Augusta National, his second in the last 3 years. At 27, he becomes the fourth youngest winner of two green jackets, behind only Jack Nicklaus, Seve Ballesteros, and Tiger Woods. Baseball, Marcell Ozuna unloaded a 2-out, 3-run homer in the ninth as the Braves reeled in the Marlins 9-7. Jose Altuve went deep in his first two at-bats to lead the Astros over the Rangers. Pirates pasted the Phillies. Jack Sawinski hit a grand slam. Andrew McCutchen capped it off with career home run number 300. Rays ripped the Giants, belting two dingers off former Tampa Bay ace Blake Snell. Cubs clipped the Mariners. Rookie Michael Busch homered for the fourth game in a row.
Yeah, it feels good. Ultimately, it's helping the team win, and that's the most important part of it, and that's the most joyful part about it.
Elsewhere, the Reds romped over the White Sox. Chicago's 2-13 start, the worst in franchise history. Comeback victories for the Guardians, Tigers, Padres, A's, and Royals. Shutouts for the Blue Jays and Diamondbacks. Wins for the Mets and Red Sox. A full slate of baseball today, including the Patriots Day game at Fenway Park between the Guardians and the Red Sox, coinciding with the 128th Boston Marathon. NBA regular season wrapped up on Sunday. The Knicks nipped the Bulls in overtime. Magic battered the Bucks, so New York nabs the 2 seed in the East, knocking Milwaukee down to 3rd, and Orlando grabs 5th. Pacers soared past the Hawks for the 6th seed. Wins for the Sixers and the Heat mean they will meet in the East play-in round Wednesday in Philadelphia, while Atlanta visits Chicago. In the Wild West, the Thunder thrashed the Mavericks to take the top seed. The defending NBA champion Nuggets dunked the Grizzlies. They finished 2nd. Suns scorched the Timberwolves. That drops Minnesota to 3rd and moves Phoenix up to 6th. Lakers got a triple-double from LeBron James and pelted the Pelicans. Those two now face off in the West play-in round tomorrow, along with the Warriors at the Kings. NHL, the Golden Knights wiped out a 3-goal deficit in the third to edge the Avalanche in overtime, a clash of the last two Stanley Cup champions. That's Monday Sports.
Robert Workman with sports. Kong retreats and celebrating the Piano Man. Those stories when America in the Morning continues after these messages. Welcome back. You're with America in the Morning. King Kong has been knocked out of the top spot at the box office. Entertainment correspondent Margie Zaraletta reports on the weekend's new number one.
Well, you're American, okay? Okay. What kind of American are you?
Civil War, a story of journalists in a dystopian America at war with itself, earned $25.7 million in North America in its opening weekend, according to studio estimates. It was expected to make between $15 and $24 million. Civil War knocks Godzilla Kong the New Empire down to second after 2 weeks at number one.
You have a miner hanging out the side of a moving vehicle, firing a laser gun indiscriminately.
Has a proton pack.
It's completely safe.
I wouldn't say completely safe.
The Ghostbusters are finished. Right.
Well, overruled.
Sustained.
Ghostbusters Frozen Empire is number 3.
Inner peace. Inner peace. Dinner, please. Dinner with peas in a sesame soy glaze.
This is not working at all.
Kung Fu Panda 4 is number 4. Dune Part 2 is 5th. I'm Archie Zaraletta.
A milestone event in New York for the piano man. Billy Joel holds his 100th concert at Madison Square Garden, this time televised and streamed. Kevin Carr reports.
After 100 performances at Madison Square Garden, legendary singer-songwriter Billy Joel is still in a New York state of mind.
Seen all the movie stars in their fancy cars and their limousines.
Last night, CBS aired the 100th consecutive Billy Joel concert at Madison Square Garden, featuring his career of hits and including a few special guests like Sting and Jerry Seinfeld.
I don't care what you say anymore, this is my life.
Joel first played the Garden in 1978, and his residency began in 2014. After more than a decade, his 100th performance on March 28th was filmed for this special. For those that missed the concert or couldn't afford the tickets, which started at about $300 for the cheap seats, the concert is now available to stream on Paramount Plus with Showtime. While in-theater and at-home concerts are nothing new, they are seeing a newfound popularity. For some fans who cannot afford the cost of travel and tickets, these have become viable options to enjoy their favorite artist. Taylor Swift made history with her Eras Tour last year.
Welcome to the Eras Tour!
And Beyoncé dropped her own concert film in December.
We are creating our own world.
As a follow-up, the Piano Man is embarking on a 14-stop tour across the US and the UK this fall. More information is available at billyjoel.com. I'm Kevin Carr.
An amazing hit maker and great talent. That's our show for today. America in the Morning for Monday, April 15th, 2024 is produced by Jeff McKay. Senior producer Kevin Delaney. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One.